Welcome to Real-ationship Goals, a podcast all about the realities of healthy relationships. Real-ationship Goals is a project of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual violence or harassment and is seeking support, services, or needs more information, links to resources and our hotline number can be found in the description. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of their organizations or affiliates.
Hello and welcome. This is Real-ationship Goals, episode 10. Glad you're here. My name is Blythe.
I'm Ariana.
And I'm Kyla.
Yes, so I have our story for today. So the story consists of the movie 17 again. And just to clarify, there are two movies. There's one with Zac Efron, and then there's one with the twins, Tia and Tamara Mowry. If I am saying your name incorrectly, I apologize. But yes, so to get into our story, there is this set of grandparents, Grandma Kat, Grandpa Jean, and they have come to visit their grandchildren for the weekend. And as time goes on, their grandson, Willie, his name is Willie in the movie, he is a scientist, and he was doing his science experiment in the garage, and it just exploded everywhere, and it turned bad. So, and then we also noticed that like there's a box of soap in the garage, and the chemical spilt on the box. And so when they came in and they started cleaning up the garage, they told Willie to take the box of soap into the house. And so he put the soap in the grandparents' bathroom. And over time, when they are eating dinner at the table, you can just kind of see like the tension built between the two grandparents. They are divorced, and they've been divorced for like 20 years. So every time they come in a room together, it's kind of like a feeling. And so after the dinner situation ended, the grandparents took showers and baths. The Grandma Kat took a bath the night before, so she used that soap as well. And then Grandpa Jean used the same soap in the shower that next morning. So when Grandma Kat wakes up in the morning, she is brand new. She is 17 again. And so in the morning, while Grandpa Jean takes his son to the airport, he magically turns 17 again. And so as time goes on, they're trying to figure out how to get their grandparents back to where they were. And so over time, we learned that Grandma Kat has this sense of regret. Like she's still in love with Grandpa Jean, and she doesn't want to show it, but she's also still like holding on to a grudge to what has happened to them over 20 years ago, which led to their divorce, of like him taking a job somewhere in a different country and just like basically leaving them behind. And so over time, they finally come to their senses of that they still love each other and that they regret the decision that they made. And at the end of the movie, they ended up getting married again, and they successfully got changed back to 67 years old again. So yes, and that is the concept of my story. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Y'all, I was flabbergasted that there were two 17 again movies. Did not know we'll be watching that. Also Tia and Tamara, phenomenal. So today we are talking about regret, right? Season 4, we're talking about uncomfortable feelings that we experience in relationships. And I think regret is well summed up as either doing or saying something that we wish we did not, or that we wish we had not, done or said, or not doing or not saying something that we wish we had. And so it can also be defined as like, feeling sad or like disappointed or like something that we've done or like failed to do. But yeah, I think it's important to hit on sometimes, we regret something because we didn't do it. And sometimes we regret something because we did. And both are tricky, treacherous waters. Okay, so to dive in, y'all, regret, I don't even know how to dive us into this of like where do you want to start? How do we think about regret in relationships? How does it show up?
I think it's hard, and it's important to acknowledge kind of like I, along with probably a lot of people, kind of come from the mindset of like it can be difficult to like think of regrets, because it's like, oh, like sometimes I'll find myself like around the rabbit hole of regret of kind of like, oh, like this was a really painful thing, or this was a really stupid thing that I did. But at the same time, I could never fully bring myself to like regret it. Like especially like big things or like relationships and things like that, because like I'm just so quick to recognize like, oh well, without that thing, like I never would have like met these people or had these opportunities, or that wouldn't have led me to like this thing. So I think it's important to recognize kind of like the paradox in regret of like you can experience like the difficult emotions that kind of arise from different decisions of like sadness or anger, but at the same time like you can also like hold that space of like, oh well, like there were like maybe I had good things like come out of this or come from this, or it led me down a path that led to like these good things. So it's kind of like noticing and like holding that tension in that space.
Which is kind of a lot like we talked about last season of like the two things can exist in tension with one another. Two things can be true at the same time. I can say, okay, this experience or something like that, it was painful, wish I had not done that, which I would have done something differently, like, and I am who I am today because I went through that, or I have the relationships that I have, or something like that. And I think those two things are allowed to sit together at the same time, even if it's hard. Also, something that I feel like I think of right away with regret is like, and this is really dumb, but like the getting a really big tattoo with like regret spelled wrong.
No regrets.
No regret. Or something like that, which I guess is regret also exists on very different scales, or levels of severity, so to speak. But
That's a coin off that. Like, what do you guys think? How do you guys think that you can see regret show up in different areas of your life? So like one instance, it could be like regretting taking a specific job. Like in that moment, it might have been the best option for you at that moment. And as time goes on, you're like, well, no, this is not really resonating with me and I'm not really enjoying this. So I kind of like wish I would have taken a different realm. And that's one way of looking how that can show up. That can show up like in a professional manner.
And adjacent to the professional like majors in like college, that was a big one for me. My undergrad major did not align with me very well. So that's a big one.
The two that come to mind like personally are like regretting being in a like romantic relationship of like definitely should not have done that, should not have done that, should not have been in that relationship, should have ended it way sooner. Is another one of like, yes, I regret not ending that 6 months earlier. Is definitely one that comes to mind. And then something else too is like, I think I've sometimes like felt the most regret when I or thinking specifically of words where it's just like I should have said something there. Like when I was in 4th grade and we were on the playground and somebody said something done and like one person said something and I just didn't, and I was like, I should have said something and stood up more for that person, and I didn't because I panicked. I think so I regret not saying something there, or especially in the times where it's like, I wish I would have like stood up more for that person or something like that. And the times that I didn't, I think I feel a lot of regret over.
And also like acknowledging like if you are saying something hurtful to like a partner or something like, I'm like, I should not have done that, or I should have not said that. And just like being able to acknowledge what has happened and like taking a different direction and like moving forward in that room. So that's one way of looking at that, like in a romantic perspective.
Regret sucks.
It's
hard.
And it's so hard once you kind of like dip your toes into that space to not fall into it, because like I think it's so important. Like you can't live your life in regret. So maybe you spent 10 years in a job that you hated, but like you can't like allow yourself to like be
Mhm.
stuck in that space. Or like one of the big things that like I always try to keep my brain out of is the phrase of like waste of my time, because
Mhm.
that's such like an unhealthy and like dangerous thing.
Mm.
At least for me. And I don't know,
Sure.
maybe in some cases it is healthy to recognize like that was not the best use of my time,
Sure.
or something like that, or like in smaller instances. But I feel like you will find yourself just kind of like trapped in like this cycle
Mhm.
if you
Mm.
like make such like a drastic statement. It's like, oh well, that, or like thinking, especially like relationships,
Mm.
like that relationship was a waste of my time.
Mhm.
Just feels very like just harsh and harmful,
Sure.
like both to yourself and to like and about the other person that you were like in a relationship with, like even if it wasn't
Mhm.
the best thing, like I don't know, like even if it wasn't the best
Mhm.
fit, like there were still probably some benefits in that, but
Mm.
maybe I'm silver lining it a little too hard.
Yeah, but I think you're to kind of, I think, go down the rabbit hole that you're going down to, it is helpful to remember that like in like how we respond to regret, like good to acknowledge like I regret this thing, just like full stop, wish I hadn't done that, or said that, or wish I would have, done something like that. But just like that regret doesn't give us permission to, and I don't know what the word I'm perfectly looking for, but like take it out on our others or like on ourselves or something like that. Like I could like regret that I took a job or something like that, or I could regret that I chose these people for my group project,
Yeah.
but that doesn't give me permission to take it out on these people in a way that is dehumanizing or mean or belittling. Or I could regret that I got into this relationship, and that doesn't give me permission to, provided that it was a healthy relationship, right? Just like absolutely treat that person like trash and say, I'm gonna, use, whatever, like get out of here, like give the person the dignity of like, okay, break up with them, please. Like don't like cheat on them or something like that. Of like, I regret being in this relationship with you. This person seems nice. Let's go have fun or something like that. Like give that person the dignity to break up with them. Granted, like you can regret a relationship and do the thing that's safe, right? Do the thing that's safe. And so the safest thing is that you just need to text them and say, hey, we are done. Like, please do that. Please do that.
Still better than the alternative. So
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just like regret, doesn't give us permission to do that to others or to ourselves, right? And to like harm ourselves or to treat, or even like mentally in our thought processes to, diminish ourselves or something like that. Yeah. So what are other thoughts? How maybe like better ways to respond to regret, whether to ourselves or to other people, that don't lead to us, belittling, degrading, diminishing other people in some capacity.
I think that one of like the first steps is allowing yourself. I feel like I say this in every single episode, and I'll continue to say it in every episode because it's right, is to give yourself and allow yourself the like space and time to like process your feelings. Because I think that's so important, of like recognizing like, oh, like I am feeling hurt, or I am feeling sadness, or I'm feeling anger, like because of XYZ, and like allowing yourself to properly process through that. Because and I think, Ariana, I think you said it earlier, and I think we've kind of alluded to it a few times, but like it's so easy for regret to snowball into a bigger and more destructive kind of like response and emotion of like anger and grudges. And there's nothing wrong with feeling regret. There's nothing wrong with feeling upset about a decision that you made. But you need to take the time and like allow yourself that space to sit and say, oh man, that sucked.
Sure.
And that's okay.
And also just like believing in the capacity of growth. Like, yes, it is painful to think about regret and things that maybe we shouldn't have done that or said that, but also just like allowing yourself to acknowledge what you are feeling, and also allowing yourself to, that does not have to be your reality. Okay. So you can change directions. If it doesn't resonate with you, you can change that. Okay. So like, believing in the capacity of growth.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And like growth or regret can be an invitation to do things differently. Whether that is to pursue a different job field, to pick different people for a group project, Or to like with people that we're in relationships in, right? Like we might have like learned some like unhealthy ways of being in a relationship. And so we can regret, like, I should not have treated that person that way. I should not have done that in a relationship. Like good to regret that and then say, okay, this is now, I'm gonna go through a process of learning and then engage in a different way in my current, in my new relationship, so that I don't perpetuate the things or do the things that I did or wish I didn't do or something like that. I like framing it like that, kind of you were saying, Ariana, like regret is an invitation to grow and to be better.
So good.
So y'all, so good. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns about regret? Y'all, okay,
Yes.
thing to Google. This is not a recommendation.
Oh, yes.
So Dan Pink is, I don't know his educational background, if he's a psychologist or sociologist. I bet so.
I think sociologist.
Oh.
Maybe.
Probably. I don't Google the World Regret Survey. So Dan Pink has studied regret. And because I think we're kind of hinting along the lines of like we can learn from regret. And both like our own regret and other people's regret, like we can learn from. So you can go to worldregretsurvey.com, and it's basically he tried to do a giant worldwide survey of what do people regret. And I think it's humbling and it's fascinating to see some patterns, and good to both reckon then with our own regret, and then to think of like what it looks like to move on from it. I think to then evaluate like, hey, are the things I'm doing right now, like will I regret that later on, or are the things I'm not doing now? Because for a lot of things, right, like it's never like too late to, I don't know, pursue a healthy relationship or to plant a garden that you've always wanted to plant a garden. Well, with that, who has a relationship goal?
Me. All right. So, our relationship goal for you and for ourselves for this week is to begin practicing voicing regret. And we were calling it, kind of joking about it before we started filming, of like micro regrets. So like starting off with something small, something that just feels a little bit easier to open up about. So we're suggesting like maybe you are going somewhere to eat this week and you order a dish and you just don't absolutely love it. Just kind of like taking that time, taking that space to allow yourself to feel that feeling of like, oh man, I wish I had ordered something else. I wish I had gotten something else instead. And then move forward and then keep moving on. But kind of like we said, allowing yourself that space to grow and trying something else next time. So just a quick example, there was a little coffee shop in my hometown and I was really excited because I love watermelon, and they had a watermelon like basil drink. And I said, ooh, so funky, so fresh, gonna give that a try. Terrible. So terrible. In fact, I think about it to this day, apparently. So that is something that I regret ordering. But I never ordered again. I took that time and I said, man, stinky. And then I got something else the next time. So just practice the small regrets this week, and like allowing yourself that space to acknowledge, I wish I had made a different decision.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I have a recommendation that I had recently with some friends at book club. So, okay, grilled cheese. But to make an epic grilled cheese, you're going to go to HEB and you're going to get rosemary sourdough bread. Okay, and then you're going to put your cheese in the middle, whatever kind of cheese you would like. A cheddar, great. A white sharp cheddar, great. If you want to get fancy with like a Swiss nutty cheese, some Gruyere, some Comté, something like that, whatever kind of cheese you like. Put some cream cheese in the middle. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. It's going to make it really nice and creamy. And then a good tomato soup. Do the things you do with it, and then eat it over a table with friends. It's really delicious. So now I'm getting hungry. So with that, y'all, thank you for being here, for listening, for watching, for embracing and diving into some of these uncomfortable relationships, and specifically this one with regret. Hope you didn't regret listening to this episode. And
if you did, don't tell us.
Yeah. But hey, either way, y'all review us, rate, tell your friends, subscribe. Anything helps us out, and like give us feedback too. We love feedback. So yeah, with that, we will leave you and see you next week for episode 11.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Real-ationship Goals. This episode was produced by the Prevention and Education Department of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. You can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention. See you next time.